Happy Hump Day. Yes, technically it is Hump Day. We are 3 minutes into Wednesday. Happy post Boxer Day, post Christmas, everything, that's going on with everybody around the world. Hope everybody is doing well. Welcome to the Midnight Express, the You Do Not Have to Defend Rebel Moon edition. I don't even know why I get on the internet anymore because, I know why, but some of the silly shit I saw today, people stop. It's not everything needs to go to DEF CON 4. And guys, please don't take the bait. It's out there. There's people out there fishing, and they're using desperate lure. They're using the big worms and the meat and everything to lure you in to trying to defend something that does not need to be defended. When it comes to Rebel Moon, it is what it is. The only, if you hated it, okay. If you thought it was incomplete, valid. If you thought the character development, there's no invalid opinion about this. There's nobody's opinion that brought up an opinion that I could be like, you know what, you suck. You're just trying. No, it all depends on the mindset that you entered yourself into when you watched it. We kind of, they made Netflix, like I said before, pushed all the bullshit like weeds out of the way. Pushed every critic and put them on somewhere else where they couldn't see him, and they made eye contact with you. The people who wanted it, the people who liked it, it was like a dance where that the hot chick in the room, and you're looking at all the other chicks, and you find that one, and she zeroes in on you. You zero in. Everybody in the room will be just disappear at that point because you two are headed towards each other. That's what this was. They knew what they were doing when they made it. They knew they're not dummies. They knew the criticism. So seeing all these lists today and all these comparisons, and I'm like, oh no, here comes the worm and the fish that feel like they have to defend everything. Zack Snyder, you don't have to. The work speaks for itself. Zack got on there and this morning and thanked us all, for watching it, for whatever it was, whatever you thought about it. And then Netflix, I've never seen a streamer all hail Zack Snyder. They don't sound like they're disappointed. So you don't need to fight. You don't need to fight. It's out there, it's doing its thing. And it is what it is. But yeah, I just think it's silly. I knew it was coming though. I knew it was coming because I know the trolls are out there, and I know the people who are defensive about things are out there, and they're just circling the drain, waiting to bite at each other. But hey, let's bring in Nicotina.
Hey, what's going on, you guys? You don't have to defend Rebel Moon. You can make your own, judgment based on how you like the movie. I like the movie, but again, I feel like the thing that bothers me the most is that we're looking at another, we should have got the Snyder cut of this movie released. And I think that Netflix is more focused on, hey, we want to get a theatrical cut put out there because it's coming out the weekend of Christmas. And they didn't want an ultra-violent, dark movie coming out on Christmas. And really, it's like, dude, that's what should have came out because that's what separates what Zack can do on Netflix compared to what he could do with Warner Brothers or with any other platform. So I thought for sure that they should have released the director's cut right off the bat.
As a fan, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
As someone who has to market things and runs, I understand. They played us. They played upon the whole myth, the whole standard. What it's become. They what they did is extended the conversation. They basically they have us talking about this till April, basically. They did their analytics before they even signed anything with Zack Snyder. They knew exactly who we were. They knew what demographic they wanted to, and they know who we are. And they decided that was enough for them to do what they want to do. And they got, I think the big winner here is Netflix because their guys, they don't move without doing analytics. So they knew who we were. They knew how many of us were out there. They knew exactly what they're doing. And like I said, I, as a fan, don't appreciate being exploited like this. But if I were them, I would have done it too. Because it's not, you have the conversation. You basically get to, like you guys were saying the other day, quadruple dip and keep this in the zeitgeist a lot longer than it would be.
Well,
I wanted to see the full movie. That's me personally, but I understand.
Yeah, I wanted to see the full movie. But here's the thing, and I see what RJ's saying about the numbers of Rebel Moon, but you got to remember too. I mean, you're talking about a movie that is like, you had other titles that released around the same time as Rebel Moon, but like those titles are movies that appeal to a wider audience. Here you're talking about a sci-fi adventure movie that you know, a ton of Snyder fans are going to watch it, and then a lot of fans of sci-fi are going to watch it, or action. While like, you know, what's that movie? Leave the World Behind. That appeals to a wider audience, you know, a general audience. So it's universal, so you're going to get a lot more views for that. But I get what he's saying though, and I do, and I'm not saying it's bullshit. I'm just kind of putting it into perspective to a certain degree. But
by the way, that chart, there's some dispute, and I've seen it that some of those numbers they're comparing them to full week numbers, but in the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Simple because,
what's up, Brad?
Hey guys,
like I said before, what a fan us YouTubers and Twitter heads think is a success or a failure is, and when it comes to Netflix and their internal metrics, is absolutely useless. It's okay for us to have our opinion and to express our opinion. That's one thing. It's another thing for it to actually mean anything anywhere where it counts.
Right.
These guys have data. These guys have internal metrics that they put out there, and a success is going to be determined on them. Now, you can say narratively what you don't like and don't dislike about the movie, and that's totally 100% fair. But all these comparisons I saw today were bullshit because they don't mean anything. Because Netflix is not going to say, well, oh, it didn't do as good as what we left behind because it's a genre movie. We had metrics set up for this project based on what we invested in this project, what we wanted out of this project, and we're going to use data analytics to connect. Like I said before, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's going to be associated with this that wasn't moving before, a whole bunch of sci-fi, fantasy, no-name, B-list, C-list stuff that is going to lead you in because of the way their analytics work and the way that their algorithms work.
Yeah.
The metrics that Netflix is using are the only ones that matter. That's it. There's just only one opinion in the room. There's a lot of opinions in the room that are valued with each other, but there's only one real opinion that counts, and it's theirs. And we don't have the information that they have. We don't have their goals. So to say something was, to compare it to some movie, most of the movies on that list that they compared it to, I'm never going to see. And it's vice versa. Most of the movies that are, that those people are going to see, they're not going to watch Rebel Moon or movies like it.
Yeah, but still, I think the problem is that, like, if you would have put out both versions, let's say you put out the director's cut a month after this version comes out, then that's cool. But the fact that I have to wait until the summertime, till next summer, to see the director's cut of Rebel Moon, which is actually like the true version of the movie. I mean, Zach even said that version of the movie is almost like a completely different film. And so having said that, it's like, that's the version I want to see, because you could easily tell that in this film that there's exposition that's missing. There's character development that's missing. And I just think that, I want to see that. I feel like I'm getting the appetizer of this movie, and really I want the full meal,
Same here.
Well, like what you said earlier, to go off of that, this is something I tagged William. I don't know if you saw this, but there was this one comment Zach made about how the intro. In fact, let me see. I'm gonna pull up this tweet again that I put out that I tagged info. I tagged William, and I was very proud of this because it's like this was me kind of calling my Babe Ruth shot and having that pay off for me.
Go for it.
I kind of didn't understand where you were going, so now is your time to explain to me what was going on.
Explain yourself.
Yeah, because he tagged me, and I'm like, people tag me, and I don't know. I'm not the biggest Twitter dude, so I don't know how to go back to what.
Oh yeah, people. Oh, by the way,
Yeah,
interesting. Also, titling, you don't need to defend Rebel Moon. I don't know if you guys saw it, but Gail Simone actually tweeted out that she really enjoyed it. She really she did, and then she got
dogpiled.
Yeah, so you saw that.
Why do you
I
do
saw
that?
that.
Why do you?
The people are
do that?
stupid. The thing is, people are always going to go for negativity. It's more. It sells. It draws more attention, and it's unfortunate. But negativity, and you'll see a lot of channels on YouTube, and they just thrive off of negativity because it's easier to sell. And
Yeah.
unfortunately,
she's had run-ins with some of the kind of the more unhinged fans in the Snyder community, but now like she's getting from the opposite side where it's like we're saying, oh, you like the Snyder movie, now the other side of the crowd's gonna throw a bunch of monkey shit her way, and it's just it's like can we have some just civility in this, for God's sakes? Okay.
No, and I knew it was coming, but that's the sad part is it's coming.
Yeah.
Is it up?
Yeah, it's there. So yeah, what was going on?
Yeah. So I was me bragging about being right, and let me pull up the. Some Zack Snyder teases an alternate opening in the forthcoming director's cut of Rebel Moon, focusing on a surprising character. And that was something I was telling William. I was speculating that I think that the opening is going to be, fairly elongated, and a lot of that's because of the intro that Jimmy gives. I mean, the opening narration, that's actually something that you do when you need to kind of cut down things for time. You have a narration. So if that's going to be expounded upon in the extended cut of Rebel Moon, well then, like I said,
well, but it's interesting to know that there's going to be a different intro to the movie, because I mean, you saw the ship flying through the portal, the vagina portal, and I noticed it right away. I was like, boom, there it is. But so that ship flies through, it flies past the camera, and then it just drops down to
Cora working plowing the field.
Yeah, on Velt. And so it kind of felt like there was more to that scene. It probably actually focused more on Atticus Noble and what they were doing out there, having more exposition in terms of like talking about like what their motives are in terms of being in that part of the galaxy. I think, and that's the thing, is that I want to see more of the fleshed out storyline. Now, I thought that opening scene where you see her farming, I thought it was a really cool shot. But the problem is that like when it went to the other angle where you see Gunner, walking towards her
through the village,
it just kind of felt like, okay, they're on a set and they have a big light creating that effect, of the other planet. But I liked the idea, and I thought having that planet in the background was really cool. But I also thought too, like, dude, if I lived there, that'd be so annoying. Like, it doesn't actually.
Would
rip the planet apart.
I mentioned that it's like it's got to be like living on Velt. That's got to be like Alaska with a whole 6 months of light and darkness.
Yeah, exactly, right. But overall, though, what's that?
Would you like I said, I completely understand the desire. I wanted to see. I was hoping that they would do it that way, but at the same time, way smarter people than me looked at this entire situation and looked at aspects that we're probably never going to even talk about because we don't know.
We can all agree when we talk about way smarter people than William. We can all agree that William is the biggest dummy on YouTube, right?
Yeah, pretty much. But people that are way smarter than the people who are probably criticizing them too, because not only are they professionals at this, they're in the game. They're inside of Netflix. Like I said before, we have our faces pressed up against the window thinking we know more than the people that are inside the building. Yeah. Now, whereas I agree 100% because I wanted to see all my violence. I wanted all 3Ds.
Yeah.
I'm not getting it. I understand that. But at the same time, smarter people than the people probably criticizing them looked at this, knew the kind of blowback they were going to get, knew it pretty much probably ran every scenario that was coming out and decided to go this route anyway because
you would hope that they're smarter.
They know what they have. They know the demo that they have. They know that they can get that demo, and they've ran everything in scenario in there. And like I said, we're just guessing. We're guessing.
Well, and by the way, I asked William this the other night, but I'll go ahead and ask you as well, Andre, because talking about like the extended opening, in the longer cut, because this is something I'm kind of wondering about since the opening is going to be longer. Like one thing I was kind of thinking might be part of that is like, will we see maybe what the that's also true, film goblin.
I think definitely.
Do you think maybe with the ship going through the opening, I'm trying to avoid all the I'm trying to avoid puns like nobody's business right now. But and of course there's a planet, you can see a planet behind them, and people are speculating maybe that's the mother world, maybe even the Earth is the mother world. But do you think that asked this to William, and do you think that maybe we might see that, like the other side of that scene, like see what's on the other side of that portal in the longer opening?
Oh, well, I don't know about in the longer opening, but I think definitely in part 2 you're going to get more of the Mother World, because already there was a scene where Balisarius, is talking in the trailer, and that you didn't see that scene at all. So that means that that is going to be in part 2. It's a scene where he's getting ready. He goes, "This is my favorite part." You know what I mean? And he looks older too.
Netflix isn't facing bankruptcy, so we probably don't want to compare Netflix, the company that revolutionized this whole streaming game, to WB, that a company that has been bought and sold and devalued each time that's been sold. So not a good comparison, man. Sorry to interrupt.
But no, I mean, I don't think we'll see more of the Mother World in the new opening. I think that it'll focus when that ship flies by. I think it'll focus on who's in the ship, and I think that's when you'll see more of Atticus Noble and kind of going over like what their objective is and why they're there. I mean, we only got that from Jimmy's narration, but I think in this version you would actually get it from him and the people that are on the ship, and we'll kind of describe why they're there. And because I mean, the crazy part was that they showed up, and Cora's freaking out. She's banging the bell, the gong, and she's like, they want they'll take everything, all this stuff, and as a viewer, we already knew, okay, she used to be part of the Imperium, so she knows what she's talking about. But I really felt like maybe the movie should have started off with a bit of her background. I think that would have kind of lent more to kind of developing her character right off the bat, because it started out on the farm, and I didn't think it was going to start there. And not to mention, the guy who found her says, when I found your ship crashed, it was kind of like, well, why was the ship crash? What was it doing there? Was she under attack? Was the ship damaged? And I thought maybe we would get like a flashback to that scene as he was describing it, but we didn't, because I wanted to know, how did it get there? Why was she flying by Velt, and why did she crash there? It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I just said, okay, I'm in. Let me kill my spider thing and let me jump in with you guys. A lot of that.
I think probably that's one thing I'm definitely I would think there's a good chance we're going to see in the extended version is we're going to see some kind of flashback or some kind of glimpse at the actual when she decides to defect from the Imperium. That's going to be showcased in some way in the extended version.
All right,
because we're talking about what, like a 2.5 hour movie, or 2 hours and 15 minutes.
And this is going to add 45 minutes to an hour.
That's a lot. 45 minutes is a lot of dialogue and a lot of extra scenes. I'm looking forward.
Eat it up. We're ready to eat it up in April. Just reaffirms my position that releasing multiple cuts of Rebel Moon was a massive mistake, a miscalculation on the part. Here's the thing, though. You can't say that someone is miscalculated when you don't know what they're calculating. We aren't them. Like I said, they are not fools. I truly believe Netflix knows exactly what they were doing. Netflix has their parameters of what they were doing.
Right.
It's really hard to say what they were doing is wrong. They seemed happy, and B, they have everything at their disposal to make a decision. We're, once again, guys, not to knock anybody's opinion about anything. They are what they are. But when it comes to what Netflix failed at or what they didn't, we're guessing. And most of the time, look at the history of YouTube, we do an awful job at guessing. We're usually doing it based on fact and factors that have nothing to do with dollars and cents. And like I said, who's more equipped to make this decision, Netflix or us? It's just a thought. Go ahead, Brad. I'm sorry.
Well, it's obviously me. I mean, they should be just running all by me, of course. But I'm also going to read off Zach's quote in that article I just shared. It's a pretty short quote, so really pull the whole thing back up again. Speaking with the ExpressUK.co, Snyder revealed how Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire's release as a director's cut will have a new opening starring Ed Screen's Atticus Noble. The director also teased the director's cut of Part 1 will be an hour longer than the original. Check out Snyder to say below. And his quote is, "It's like an hour longer and has a whole other opening that's all Ed. It's really crazy." So yeah, the opening, we're getting definitely a lot more of a Noble in it. So
yeah, and it makes sense because you see the ship you see the ship fly by, and then it just goes away, and then it just drops down to the title card. So I felt right there initially like, okay, so there's probably more to what was on that ship, because a lot of scenes in a lot of movies, when you have a ship that flies by the camera, you typically see what's going on in that ship, or who's on there. So I felt like, okay, so
like Star Wars,
like Star Wars. There you go.
Yeah. One and the other thing too, and I mentioned this during the watch party we did. I don't think Zach is going to do this, but I would definitely give him extra points if he did. When we see things like the like the big Imperium ships in the sky, because they're kind of they're built similarly to the like the Sulaco and Aliens. Yeah, and I've always wondered, how do those things land? So it's giant machine guns, or like.
We saw the Sulaco land, or a version of it, in Alien 3 at the very end. You see one land.
Oh, yeah, that's
and then
true.
They get out. But no, it definitely it reminds me of the Sulaco. And there's a lot of things that were in this movie that remind me of other movies, but I get it. And the fact that, look, just as he titled it, like, you don't have to defend Rebel Moon, right? If you don't like it, you don't like it. This is not a movie that was going to appeal to everybody. This is a movie that, like, you either like it or you don't like it, and it's fine. I mean, same with, that goes with, like, Army of the Dead. You're either going to like it or you don't like it, And if you don't like the movie, it's not like the end of the world. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a movie.
Apparently, Gail Simone likes
it. It's just a movie. Yeah, Gail Simone likes it, so let's get her. Like, come on, man.
The one thing I've seen, though, that I do think people would do better with, if they stop trying to compare streaming stuff, especially when it comes to Netflix, when that's their deal, to opinions and ratings and things and everything else. Like, like I said, you go for the box office. This, to me, it's completely different goals. Netflix does not have a box office goal here with this. Netflix,
and of course, it's going to be it's something I said last night when we were wrapping up the stream, where we're essentially getting 4 movies out of this over the course of the next year. And that's tied into where that's linked to. Of course, Zach's got a couple of animated series in the works. We got his several of his DC movies on Netflix now. There's I asked William, there's with that Scott Stuber interview, there's speculation they might want to try to bring ZSJL over the platform. So it's really, I'm really.
And by the way, if listen, HBO, if Max, if David Zaslav, if you're watching this right now, and you let Netflix have Zack Snyder's Justice League, I don't think that's going to happen. Like I said last night, what the hell, dude? What the hell? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
I mean, why would you do that? I don't think that's going to happen for those reasons, but I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah. So it just kind of set the sort of wheel spinning in my head, where it's like, what the what the conversation, what the kind of the dialogue around all of that, everything, basically the totality of the Snyderverse, if we want to, as you want to put, like, what that's going to, where we're going to kind of land on that when we like basically by next Christmas, like and because the fact that we have so much, so much dropping or so much in the works over the course of the next year. So that's that is something to definitely to ponder. But of course, as we can all agree, all this the fact that William had the title, the stream what it is tonight, and all the kind of polarizing discussion around Rebel Moon right now, it's all my fault.
Well, and I answered it last night. I don't think a lot will come of it, other than the fact that when there's time to do business and there's a transaction to be made, if there's ever one made, then whoever's running Warner Brothers, depending on where Warner Brothers is right now with cash, we'll do certain things, but it'll be metered out, over time, because once again, whatever you put out there for anything, you want it to be the only thing out there at that given time, because you want all the promo and everything else. So you got yours. That's why I say just get the story out there. Yeah. Comic book, because you're relying on too many things happening.
Here's the other thing I was thinking about too, talking about like the kind of the reception and like the Rotten Tomato score and like a lot of the back and forth on it, because I was thinking about this too. It's like, and maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but Netflix's like their original movies, whether it's Rebel Moon or whether it's whatever it is, it's like, I think more often than not, and I don't think this is like anything intrinsic to them as a platform or the filmmakers they hire, but they tend to actually not do that well in terms of like Rotten Tomato scores, or I mean, I like one I think back to in particular was when Red Notice came out a couple of years ago. That was that's one of like their biggest hits on their platform, but it got terrible. I thought it was actually pretty good, but it got terrible reviews. But they're doing like apparently like 2 more back to back, and it's but it did kind of occur to me where it's like I can't, like, off the top of my head, like, anything Netflix has made for their platform, what among that has like done really well critically? I mean, I think maybe like I think The Irishman, like that, obviously, with the Scorsese, that was.
Let me hold your thought. I'll answer that real quick, and then we'll go around. But Netflix business model is seriously flawed, though. They don't make as nearly as much money as they think they do. RJ, they run the company. It's one of the most successful. It's even they can run at $12 to $14 billion in debt because they make so much pure revenue a month that their debtors and their people are like, at any time we could call in that debt, but we don't have to because we know the revenue is there. Netflix is doing just fine, man. I mean,
the biggest thing too is that when you're talking about a streamer like Netflix, is that you're talking about memberships. That is basically free money coming at you every single day, every single month. You're getting all these membership renewals. They're getting thousands of renewals every single day, and that's free money coming right at them. And so when you work off a platform that relies on memberships, as long as you keep your members happy, they are going to reward you by renewing their memberships every single month.
Yeah, it's called churn.
Retention.
It's called churn.
Yeah,
exactly.
But
think about for all these new titles, when people are going to be signing up for Netflix just to watch Rebel Moon, just to experience some of the things that are on there. And look, I would say this: out of all of the streaming platforms that are out there, the majority of people in this country, for that matter, the majority of them have Netflix. You have Netflix over almost anything else. If you have to cut off all your streaming platforms, a lot of people will do that except for Netflix. They'll keep that. Or Amazon, because they have Amazon Prime, which they order stuff from Amazon, which is a genius idea, by the way.
Okay, Netflix pulled in $31 billion in 2022.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And that was up from $29 billion in 2021.
And William, like, you made this comparison before, like Disney, like their biggest in terms of box office is something like $9 billion. So if you got a company where it's like you've got, if you're looking at like box office versus the streaming revenue, it's like, which one of those are you going to pay the most attention to?
Yeah, and Disney makes the majority of their money through the parks anyway. They make $38 billion.
Oh yeah.
And they're going to be fine.
And Aaron, real quick, part 2, the Scar Giver, that is April 19th next year.
Yeah, we've got a big announcement coming about that too, by the way. Nicotina, keep the weekend of the 19th open if you can.
Wait, that's in when? April, right?
Yeah, April 19th. Yeah. We are going to have a virtual Woodstock of this shit. So, and I actually want to be able to. This is plenty of time for you guys to come out here. The weather is fine.
Right.
Come out to Vegas when it's not going to be 1,000 degrees. I'll track the weather. I want to bring us all out here, but
my dad actually knew a guy who went to Woodstock. He told me that story one time.
I think my dad would have gone if he wasn't in the Air Force.
I mean, Warner Bros. Discovery's annual revenue for 2022 on this website says that it was $33.81 billion, right? And you said how much was Netflix bringing in?
Netflix in 2022, Netflix did $31 billion.
And you're talking about a streaming platform brought in that much money compared to a movie studio that relies on box office sales and probably merchandise and
home media,
things like that.
Of course they got their own streaming platform now, and
Netflix added 9 million subscribers in they're doing fine. I mean, they're doing fine. And like I said, the reason, and that's why like I said, I agree with everybody who wanted to see everything up front. I 100% agree with you guys. But just think where we are sitting right now. Having an opinion is one thing, but it's absolutely absurd and silly to think that before the thought goblin jumped in your head and took the wheel, that Netflix didn't think about everything that you're saying, that Netflix did a devil's advocate and have one of us fanboy types sitting across the table and playing. That's why you don't pull in $34 billion by accident. You know what you're doing. So I don't agree, but
again, it's still my fault.
Blame Brad. Always.
You did good this time. because like I said, for all the grievances, for everything you want to say, and I have plenty, we could tear up Rebel Moon, but I had fun with it. We had fun when it was the rewatch. But as far as their marketing strategy goes, as far as what it means to them, A, we'll never know unless they release the internal metric. But B, like I said, I trust them more than I trust my opinion is being shit as far as their mechanics goes. I'm a dummy compared to the guy running Netflix.
I'm actually kind of curious now because I mean it is pretty clear that they were with the director's cut side of it, and of course with like the steak video dad stacked it at
they used our trauma as their thing. I feel violated personally, but I understand.
Yeah, exactly right.
Well, we were asking Warner Brothers to use our trauma to build off of that. It's like they didn't want to do it, so it's like
they didn't want to do it.
But again, the fact that they went so heavily on the Snyder cut, leveraging that for the marketing of the first portion of Rebel Moon that we're seeing this year. The fact they did that so heavily, it kind of makes me wonder. It's like, how much more are they going to dive into that? With the first extended cut and with the 2 parts of Scargiver.
Well, but here's the thing though, is that when it comes to like Scargiver coming out, right? They this summer, they announced that the director's cut of A Child of Fire will be coming out in the summer of next year. And so it makes me wonder, like, if it's coming out in the summer, is that going to get a limited theatrical release? I mean, Zach never just releases his cuts without, some kind of bonus to it. So it wouldn't surprise me if it had a limited theatrical release or maybe a limited location.
Maybe another Snyder Con.
Yeah.
Yeah, very limited to where it's like guys like me ain't gonna get to that
because now he's setting it up to where like he can do another version of like SnyderCon where Netflix is fully behind him at this point, and that's where that crowd initially gets to see the full version of A Child of Fire,
like full Earth Circle.
Yeah, and then it will go on to Netflix the following day. There's a lot of things that you can do to really amp up the hype for this movie because everyone knows just by watching this that there's a lot more that should have been in this film. And it's kind of weird because normally when we talk about this kind of thing happening, we talk about how the studio, fucked over the director and we got a theatrical cut and not the director's cut. I mean, we're so used to saying that these days. But now they almost did it deliberately to try and build up more hype. So it extends the hype.
Yeah, it did. Rebel Moon was widely hit on the internet. That damage may reflect. Probably not. Because once again, before you type this, and you're not the only one who types stuff like this, before us fanboys started slapping at our keys, Netflix thought about this already, and they know we don't even know where the target is. They knew where the target is, and they knew whether it was a hit or not. They do not. I truly believe that Netflix does not give a fuck about all this hatred on the internet. All this, they have their metrics, and they're having a secret meeting with those little poobah hats on there. And their little secret society and all that, and they're going over the only numbers that matter, and they're not trolls on the internet who are spreading hate on the internet. That is not a metric that Netflix ever needs to care about.
Think about this though. I mean, if he has like another SnyderCon thing, or they have some kind of limited theatrical release in the summertime for Scargiver, I think is part 2.
And I could totally see. I mean, Zach. I mean, the first 2 were AFSP events, so I mean I could totally see him like wanting to do something like that to have another AFSP drive.
So I misspoke. So imagine this summer when they release A Child of Fire, the extended version, that he has an event like that, or they have a limited theatrical release and it becomes like an event that people want to go to, right? And then after that,
Snyder stock.
No, but then after that, you're going to get the extended version of Scargiver probably coming out Christmas of next year. So now we've come full circle to where now you're getting the extended cut in December of that same year. And I think that's probably what they're going to do, is that you're going to get the extended cut in December. Just like you got the original cut released in December.
I can see that because that was something Zach said on the podcast stream, that they don't have hard dates for the extended cuts, but it's going to be sometime after Scargiver. So I could envision like Child of Fire extended cut summer and then extended cut Scargiver Christmas. So that would make sense to me, especially
think about the revenue. Think about the memberships and everything. They're going to make so much money off of this. Just bringing in fans to watch.
It's totally sold out of my Walmart. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Well, but here's the thing though. Like you could argue, well, look, you got a lot of fans that will sign up for this, watch the movie, and cancel, right? But they're still signing up for a membership and they're paying a monthly fee. So even if they're paying $10, $16 if you want to get the 4K version, then that's $16. So like, let's say they only watch it, they watch it and then cancel it, right? They're still paying the $16 fee for that month.
Yeah.
So it's like they've already paid for like two tickets to a theater. You know what I mean? And so it's like they're making money hand over fist. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, obviously, they're going to be spending money as well. I mean, we saw what they did at CCXP. I mean, that wasn't cheap. They put a lot of money into the promotion of Rebel Moon. But still, you have a built-in fan base that's already going to be able to freely promote all 4 of these cuts. And that's so crazy important for Netflix.
Yeah. All right, I'll read this one, and I'm gonna hand the chat over to Brad. Netflix spends so much on operating costs and funding more content that you have to wonder how much of the $30 billion they actually keep for themselves. I'm gonna tell you all of it, and here's why. Their fat cats are they're feeding off the catnip. Good. Their financiers and their debtors are the ones that are also getting a return, but that they're also refinancing them. So that debt, the operating cost, doesn't come out of what they're all putting in their bag and their ski mask and running out of the building with. They're all doing just fine. The financiers look at that and continue to finance them. So that debt is operational debt. There's a difference between debt that kills you, that where you can't operate, and operational debt. And usually it means you have a lot of bankers and a lot of people that believe in your company so much that they just leave that out there. Nobody's calling. Here's a good example. Nobody's calling in Netflix debt. Nobody's calling in because that interest, they're making so much money off the interest. With the people who finance them, everybody's eating good here, so they're fine. There's a lot of companies that operate at operational, but because they pull in so much money that they are using that loaned money to create this content and finance it. So it's like a cycle of debt. It's not like Warner Brothers debt to where they inherited and it's like an albatross that hangs around their neck, because Warner Brothers isn't pulling in the type of revenue that they needed to counter in their debt. That's why that debt carried over from different ownerships. Netflix is operational, Smith. They're doing just fine. At any point in time, their debtors could say, "I want that $14 billion back," and Netflix would be able to do it. But they would have to scale down enough, and nobody wants that. And be honest with you, the debtors are making the interest, the stockholders are making the money, and those advertisers, because they make more money off that ad tier than they do. Yeah, they make the raw money for the $16. That's fine. But that advertising revenue that nobody talks about, when you're watching that ad tier Netflix, they're getting paid from advertisers. So they're making the money work. These billionaires do it all the time. There's a lot of very rich and powerful companies that have debt, but it's operational debt and it ain't hurting them.
By the way,
I'm not going to be the first person to tell Netflix they're doing it wrong.
I literally just thought of this. And I'm wondering if this is something else that Netflix might implement, or they might try either with with one of the releases of Rebel Moon. Do you guys remember when BBS came out and like the Monday after opening weekend we had the scene of Lex meeting Steppenwolf pop up online?
That was like, dude.
Yeah, and everybody was going like, "Why the hell wasn't that in there?"
Yeah.
So, I'm kind of wondering. It's like, will they maybe like give us like a little tease of they kind of already did with the teaser that Zach dropped of the scene with Noble and Cora, but I'm kind of wondering, will they do anything similar to that, where they really like give us something to just really incentivize people to go for it?
They might, but I think that you
got to control your addict though. You got to give your addict what you need. You want your addict spazzing out for your shit when you want him spazzing out for your shit.
But I mean, like Warner Brothers fucked that up. Warner Brothers screwed that up so bad. It was just so stupid. I mean, to release the Steppenwolf scene, everyone was like, "Whoa, what the hell is that? Like, who's that guy?" Because
now you knew there was something. It was just so.
It was like, what? Why was that in the film? It looks like a really cool scene, and at the time, everybody was like, "Who is that? Who's that villain? I don't know who that is," because Zach put his own spin on the character of Steppenwolf which hadn't been done before in really any other like comic book
in live
movie.
action,
And so he changed the look of him and he made him more of a monster. While on the flip side of things, when they said, okay, that's too scary, let's turn him back into a
then they gave us the guy
pirate.
who looks more like, they gave us the guy who looks more like Steppenwolf's grandfather in Justice League.
He looks like a bad guy from Pirates of the Caribbean. You know what I mean? He looks like one of the Davy Jones's crewmen. I can't believe that. I've always wanted to ask Zach that question. Like, hey, when it came to the second design of Steppenwolf, did you agree with that design? Like, did you sign off on that? Or was that just the studio who said, hey, we're going with this design only? Because that design looks so fucking terrible that it's unbelievable.
I would venture to guess that probably that was something after the Vista reception to BVS. I would venture to guess that was something that he agreed to rather reluctantly, because when he got his JL out, that they went to so much effort to put his Steppenwolf design back in, and actually that's always been something I've kind of been curious about. I doubt we'll ever see this, but I'd love, in terms of like the breakdown of that $70 million to finish the Snyder Cut. I would guess that Steppenwolf probably ate up a pretty good chunk of that, getting his original design in there.
Absolutely. I mean, when he at Full Circle, we watched it on the IMAX, which was fucking incredible, right? But when he landed, like in Themyscira, when he lands, right? Whenever any character was introduced in that movie, the crowd was like, "Yeah!" They would cheer, But Steppenwolf was the first character that when he landed and he stands up, and then you see all the spikes come out, and you see all the detail. Nobody cheered. It was quiet because I think everybody was in awe. They were just like, "Holy crap!" Because it was just so much to look at. You're just like, "Whoa!"
His scene with the Amazon, when the actual Zack Snyder's Justice League, those scenes when he's cutting those Amazons up like that, and it was like, wow.
Or he has the arrows in him, and he just flexes and cracks them.
That one Amazon that has him by the chain or by has one of the arrows in it, he just cuts her, and you actually see the blood. And he's like,
or he's tossing the horses around. Yeah.
Well, and then when you compare the dialogue that he has in Zach's cut to the to Justice League, it's vastly different, and he has a more menacing, darker tone in Zach's movie, and it's so much better.
Oh yeah, I'm telling everybody, it's like we were gonna spend like decades like comparing those two side by side, and it's like
I'd rather not. I'd rather not.
Right there with Droga, he says, "You will love me." Like, oh my god, what are we talking about?
Well, again, like whose version of the movie is that in? There you go.
I think we had too long. We had 4 long years to think about the Justice League version, and like I said, I still think it has business value as far as getting the layman and the average fan into our world. We're already here, and that version is on TV all the time. And every time I get people that come in and it's on our TV or things like that, because we just have it on TBS or whatever, that's somebody who doesn't know about any of this stuff, and that's their doorway in. So when they start watching this stuff, they start looking for more. And then, you know what? They have to get in somehow, and it's not going to be through a 4-hour movie all the time. So I hated it. We all hated it, but I understand. I would rather and the reason why Wonder Woman and Aquaman did as well is because a lot of people had the average Joe, who makes up 97%, 98% of this audience, got a chance to see those characters. And it hadn't been for that movie, as much as we malign it and justifiably hate it, then we wouldn't have, you probably are in a hard spot, because it's a lot harder to get these fans in.
Yeah, no, but it's like I just hate that we have to ask them to take, it's like asking them to take Tylenol.
Like I said, we need out. If we're ever going to get everything we've gotten has been by building allies. And in the next step that we need as far as allies for anything, no matter what it is Joe Average. And right now, like I said, it just can't be guys like us if this is ever going to go anywhere. And like I said, when you put out that comic book, put out that fucking comic book, Jim Lee. Do it, man.
That'd be awesome. That would be awesome. But I think that like getting the director's cut of Scargiver for Christmas next year, I think would be the ultimate move. Because think about it, all the fans will be waiting for it, and they're gonna watch it on Christmas. And I think that going into this, I don't think Netflix wanted to lead off with his ultra-violent version of the movie, the longer version of the movie. I think they wanted to have a shorter theatrical version that's, essentially like a neutered cut of the movie, because they wanted it to appeal to more fans. They wanted more of an audience to watch
Well,
it.
I've seen people also suggest that because it was coming out for Christmas, that's also maybe makes it a little bit more accessible to families around the tree. You know,
exactly. It's like you're gonna watch these movies, with the little ones with you, right? So that we can't just go out there and show this ultra-violent movie. Let's give them this version of it, and then by the time we get to next Christmas, everyone will already be on board, and we're gonna give you the ultra-violent version of part 2, which is going
to be talking about part 3 when they announce that later on.
But exactly. Yeah. So we know that part 3 is going to be a reality. They already said it's going to be a trilogy, right? And when you look at the trailer for part 2, a lot of it takes place on Velt with them defending their village, right?
Straight up 7 samurai. Yep.
So my thing is that I think that by the end of part 2, it's going to, basically show that there's a bigger story that goes along with this, because, I mean, they can't just defend the village and say, yeah, we did it, we won, because they're going to keep on coming. That's an entire, empire.
Well, Zach had even said, like, the actual Rebel Moon is not in either of these movies.
Yeah. And so
he's looking for other rebels.
Well, you think about it, by the end of Scargiver, it's going to be a full-on rebellion against the Imperium, and that's going to take place again in the third one. Who knows if it's going to be more than that? It's going to be a third one, a fourth one, who knows? But this is just the very beginning of this universe and of this story that's going to be kind of fleshed out, which I can't wait to see.
Yeah, and of course, part of it is also like seeing you're talking about Atticus Noble, and this has been somewhat revealed in the novelization with that part of him with like that robo squid or that tentacle, whatever it is. Apparently there's apparently there's some gross. I don't know, I guess nookie maybe is the word I'm gonna go with.
Next topic.
Yeah, I mean you're probably gonna get some of that, but I mean, so when you look at some of the scenes that needed more exposition, needed more development, like when they go to the other planet to find Nemesis, right? They land, and then all of a sudden, the next scene, they're in the elevator, and she's in there with them, like standing.
That's
there.
what I mean.
Like,
that's what I was
like, whoa! I was like, where did she come from? I was like, I know what she is. I made a fucking video about her, but I'm like, when did she get there? And so I think again, that's another scene that didn't make this cut, is when they land and then they interact with her, outside the ship. Because here's the thing: is that we learn more about the characters when Atticus Noble was going around and talking about each character towards the end of the film. And so I think, and it makes me wonder if in the longer cut, if that scene isn't even really a thing, because like he kind of had to have that scene so that you fully understand who each character is. But if you have a longer version, that scene might not even be in the film. It might just get right to the chase.
Like he said, it's like it's almost like a different movie, a different universe.
Well, and so having said that, let me ask you guys: do you think there's a chance that Darian Bloodaxe is going to be alive in the second one, or do you think he'll be just flashbacks?
I'm betting he's alive.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because you didn't see his body at the end. They purposely didn't show that. And I was like, okay,
no body.
It's like
Joe DeMaio from the DeMaio family said, "No body, no crime." So
and then you figure if the Bloodaxes already have Princess Issa, like let's say she's what Princess Issa is who they are coveting. I mean, like, yeah, we have her. We need to start a rebellion. Then she'd be the one to obviously bring him back to life, because you saw that scene in the trailer part 2 where he's standing there holding his gun with more soldiers running around him. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Bloodaxes show up in the second one and he's with them, and you're like, what the fuck? And then that's when they reveal that that Princess Issa is actually, that they have her as well, and she brought him back to life.
That's the theory I've seen. Actually, a lot of people posit that she's still alive, and she's, somehow maybe she's like the source of like that resurrection fluid that they use for Noble at the end. So, I do. I'm definitely expecting more of a Bloodaxe. Like,
I think he's a robot. I think he's a cyborg too.
And people have said. I've seen so many good jokes about that where people have said, like, if Zach brings him back as a cyborg.
Well, Noble's half machine. Noble.
Well, he definitely is, because they showed the back of his head, and he had cybernetics in his head. I thought, like, when they showed that, my first assumption was, so he's actually just a copy. Like, the real Atticus Noble is back on the mother world, and he's gonna. I was like, oh wait, no, it's not. That was really him. Okay, but I think that when you look at, Darian Bloodaxe possibly coming back, to me that makes a lot of sense because he was one of the best characters in the movie. And I think that, having him or having the ability to bring these characters back is kind of like in Game of Thrones when I forgot the name of the character, the guy that had the fire sword. He can't remember how he would die, and then the other guy would bring him back. So it's kind of like that's how their rebellion has lived on for so long, is because the Blood Axes are literally
He brought back Dark Snow.
Yeah, like they've died multiple times, but they've been brought back, and so that's why the rebellion lives on. And so they're like, oh shit, we can't seem to stop these guys. What's going on? Because they keep being brought back to life.
Yeah, I wouldn't like I said, there's so many, they left it, and to be honest with you, I don't think that them wanting a more friendlier version of the movie out there was their goal. I think, this is my opinion, I think they wanted enough out there to have the aim, the people, the demo they aim for doing exactly what we're doing now.
Asking for a longer version.
Asking for a longer version.
Asking to release the Snyder cut.
Yeah. Not just that, because that's good too for them. That's good for them. But most of the conversation, once you get past I wish it could have been this, I wish it could have been that's like the skin of the surface. Once you start going a little bit deeper, most of the conversations that I've been in or heard, it's positive speculation about, okay, what could this be? How could this be? How could this person be alive? And that's the kind of fuel that you get to keep your conversation going. And Netflix is doing better at that now, because remember, Netflix will just put stuff out. There's so much stuff on Netflix that nobody knows about. But then you have stuff like this. And while you're watching this, plus, trust me, if you let your Netflix go long enough, you're going to start seeing some stuff pop up that, hey, maybe you'll like this and maybe you'll like this. Yeah. And that, not only are you keeping the conversation going about Rebel Moon, you're getting people into all the other things about, because I don't know anybody who buys Netflix for one thing. Everybody who bought it for Stranger Things watches other things. Everybody who bought it for The Irishman ended up watching all the other stuff that they had on there. That was loosely associated.
Think about how much of a boss move that would be for Netflix to basically co-opt the hashtag that was used for another studio release.
Why not? I think they are. They're going to use that hashtag.
They should.
Yeah. Now
release the Snyder cut. You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't you use that? I'm surprised you haven't used it yet.
Yeah, and then if we get to this point next year, after if they work the word restore anywhere into their marketing, I'm just gonna laugh so hard. If they do.
I know, right?
I think they'll avoid that.
Yeah, I don't think restore has anything to do with with Rebel Moon. I think the Snyder cut, I think, would be it would be pretty clever for them to use that, but
they use the hashtag, yeah.
But I mean, if you look at it though, what is the one thing that they have now that nobody else has? They literally have a living, breathing campaign machine in his fans, and they know that his fans are going to be promoting this shit all year long. I'm talking about year in terms of like when Rebel Moon comes out to when the second one comes out. They're not going to stop, promoting this guy's movie. And we're all three of us are going to be doing that as well. Just saying hashtag Rebel Moon, because we're big fans of Zack Snyder, and frankly, I am a fan of Rebel Moon. Is it a perfect film? No, but again, I have to see the director's cut to really understand the full film. Now, every time that I've watched it, it's gotten better. Every repeat viewing, it's better and better and better. But still, you have a fan base that will be marketing your project while you're also marketing it as well. So now you have the word of mouth
for it.
Yeah, exactly. The word of mouth that the fans are going to spread is going to be huge.
Well, they watched what Warner Brothers did. Now, granted, it's out.
And what they didn't do.
In some cases,
what they didn't do. Yeah,
it's apples and oranges, because one's box up studios. But here's the thing, and I've been saying this for a year. They didn't give a shit about any divisiveness, because if you're doing business right, you pick the side that's giving you the money. That's what Netflix is doing. Netflix is not. They hear all this other stuff, but that's not. They're whenever there's a division, you pick the side that is giving you money. That's what Warner Brothers could not fucking figure out for the life of me. I don't know whether it's because they didn't have accountants. Warner Brothers, I thought,
probably
thought more like fans than they did a corporation. They were actually more in tune to fans whose bravest moments came from behind a keyboard than they were about an actual company that needed to be marketed. And all I ever wanted to do, and I told Brad this the other night, all a lot of us ever wanted to do is give Warner Brothers our money. Now Netflix is actually taking the money, so I can't.
It's what I've been saying. It's like Netflix is basically straight up told Warner Brothers, okay, you don't want him, you don't want his fans, we'll take him, and not only will we take him, we'll take them and we'll utilize them in every way that you failed to do.
It's crazy to think about it too. I mean, the studio literally had a built-in do-over right in their hands. They could have just said, dude, let's just dive into Zack Snyder's Justice League and make this our new canon until we reach, until we come to the point where we're going to reboot. And they could have easily have done that, but egos and all kinds of bad shit got in the way of all that. And it's really sad because, I mean, we could have got something really cool.
And we could be
that
getting
had a huge fan following.
Yeah, we could be getting ready for James Gunn as in a transition instead of what we hear now. Everybody's as soon as James Gunn sticks his head out of the squirrel hole, people are waiting to pee on him. So
and they are. I mean, imagine if we would have got, let's just say we would have gotten Justice League Part 2. Let's say they don't do a 2 and a 3. They just do a Part 2 that has them both combined together, right? And you get that storyline, and then after that, they're like, okay, after this, let's do the Flashpoint movie. And then that resets the timeline and allows James Gunn to go in. I'm just spitballing here, but essentially you could be exactly where you're at now and still everything would have been fine. And you would have made more money as well.
Without sending a bunch of movies out to die.
Yeah. I mean, look, is it going to happen? No, it's not. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I don't think Zach's ever going to come back and finish his story. And that's fine because he's making incredible shit over on Netflix. But I think, when it comes to Rebel Moon, one of the things that I had talked about with some of my friends was that, they said, what do you give Rebel Moon? I said, I gave it a 7 out of 10 because obviously there's still a lot that's missing from this that I want to see. But some of my friends were like, well, what about like a 6 or a 6.5? I said, no, because when you look at the world he was creating and the ambition it takes to make those types of worlds, to me, it's easily a 7 out of 10. It could even be 8 out of 10, but 7 to me feels right because it's not the complete cut that I wanted to see. But I think that if they would have released the director's cut, I think that you would have been able to really show what Zach can do on a Netflix platform that he couldn't do with a major studio. To have an ultra violent, darker film, I think that would have set the tone for the next film that's coming out. Because when we see it in April, good or bad, we're going to know that there's going to be a longer cut of that's still waiting to be released. So it essentially, he's releasing 4 movies and they're all, they're different cuts of each other. So I get why they did it. And I get that, it's actually going to make them a fuck ton more money. Yeah. But I want to see the extended cuts. It bothers me that I have to watch the theatrical cuts first before I even get to those extended cuts. But hey, I'm still
when they were never going to be released in a theater. But that was never their aim.
And it's the trade off of Netflix like picking up on a hashtag for another studio and running with it. So, and it's basically Zach again going, if it'll play, come on, you're screwing up my one-liner here, YouTube.
Suck it, Warner Brothers. That's what
that's what he says.
Yeah, my computer's slow right now.
In the long, like I said, first just give me the comic for one, because I think the comic can make a shit ton of money, and I think if you were able to put that story out there,
the comic of what?
The rest of his jail.
The entire Snyder run, it would make a shit ton of money.
But second Warner Brothers
finally did it.
It would bring in a lot of people, a lot of speculator people, but not the Superman dies speculators that ruined the market. People that were already fans of that particular IP to begin with, just on a different platform. You put that out there, Watchmen style. You get all the mainline artists in it. 12 issues.
Well, hold on, William. I mean, RJ's got a point. maybe you're pushing this because you know that's going to make you a ton of money. So you're like, I want to see the comic version first.
Okay.
Is there a little self-ambition going on here?
I will freely admit that I am biased, but at the same time, I'm not going to lie.
I want to see a comic. I think it'd be great.
And these are comic book characters.
Yeah.
And I think once you see right now, everybody, these hashtags and these movements, I applaud your passion, but I always say this: you must speak when you want something from someone. You must speak in the language of that person or what they want to, and the language is money and viability. We're talking about comic book characters. Why, heaven forbid, we tell a comic book character story in a comic book? Oh no, that's unheard of. So
I know, right?
12 issues.
It's crazy. 5
variant covers each. Third printings. Put it out there. Pimp it and push it as much as you can. You tell a much more expansive story, and then wherever it goes from there, let it. I don't think Zack Snyder directly will ever deal with another major studio outside of Stone Quarry, but he would probably never have to. 6-7 years down the line, Stone Quarry could produce a movie for any studio they want to, whether it be Universal.
Well, and by the way, because I asked William this question, and I'll go and ask you too, Andre, with the comic. Well, actually, before I get into that, because I didn't also ask William, because they did, when the movie was coming out, they did the variant covers, for a bunch of for DC Comics, they did the ZSJL variant covers. I was gonna ask, like, how well did those do for you?
Sold the shit out of them. They weren't even in the comic.
They put covers. It was covers that weren't related to whatever they
were buying them up.
They were buying them up.
They were pissed at me because they opened up and I'm like, well, it's just a variant cover, dude. It said right there.
But I mean, if it was coming out in a graphic novel form, I mean, there would be a ton of pre-sales. For that comic. And it'd be a collector's item immediately.
Second printings, you limit the variants on the second printing so that you're making money off of that. You're getting it out there because right now you are trying to fight this crazy war with no viability to show for it.
Yeah.
Wherever you put the story out there, once the story is out there, you no longer have to fight that part of your battle because the story is out there. Now, whoever wants to take a look at it, and hell, Atomic Bomb was a damn comic book. Atomic Blonde was a comic book that made it. Anything can happen, but it was just you couldn't do Atomic Blonde the movie without Atomic Blonde the comic. You have to have your story out there first. It was $100 to make a comic book,
and that was actually so popular because the graphic novel was called The Coldest City. Then you have the Atomic Blonde movie, and then they went back like reissues of it. They are calling it Atomic Blonde because the movie.
Exactly. Okay, so I have this screen pulled up, sharing with you guys. And this came out earlier today. So Zach confirms he hasn't approached James Gunn about working on any new DC movies. The quote is, "I'm not knocking on James Gunn's door going like, bro, shoot me one of those sweet movies. The Holy Grail is some original IP that you create that has,
resonance
and it's cool." So, I mean, already he's talking about that, like, hey, the Holy Grail is to create your own IP that takes off, and that's why he's doing Rebel Moon. That's why he's doing the Army universe, because he wants to create his own IP. And to me, this says a lot about where Zach is at. Now, obviously, he's never going to tell anyone, I would never go back to finish my DC stuff, because that's not who he is. He's never going to tell anybody it's over. He'll never say that.
By the way, that conversation would never be happening with James Gunn anyway. It would be happening with somebody.
Well, and also, I mean, you have to
zero next to his name. You know what I mean?
Well, when he says, "I'm not knocking at James Gunn's door right now," I mean, he's kind of busy at the moment. So
he is. In fact, on the red carpet, Mark Malkin, whatever his name is for Variety, he asked him. He said, "Hey, do you want to? Would you ever go?"
And that's where he said never said never, but Deborah interjected, said we are kind of,
yeah, she goes, we're a little bit busy right now, because even she's kind of like, look, dude, like, yeah, we love that shit, but it's like we're doing something else.
That question there. Well, once again, here's my thought on it. I think at some point it will happen because business gets done. Fanboy logic pays for nothing.
I'm sorry.
I will bet you. Hold on, 1:07 a.m. And I'm not talking about anytime soon, but. The hell freezing over type of situation, CM Punk going, like I said, only fanboys say never. Only fanboys say never.
I just don't see it happening because the thing is that if James Gunn's universe, let's say it fails, right, which I don't think it will, But if James Gunn's universe fails and they say, okay, we're done with James Gunn and Saffron, let's bring in somebody else, that other person is not going to be like, hey, I want to bring back Zack Snyder and finish a story that he started back in 2010.
Can of worms, because it is a banned topic. I don't even think it's about money. See, fans.
But here's the thing, William. You talk about it's about money, but to think about bringing back all the actors 10 years after they filmed Man of Steel, more than 10 years. I'm sorry, they filmed that in 2010.
Playing in Creed that's in the 70s. But anyway, this was a banned topic. But once again, if I ever said never, I would be out of business. So, like I said, never is for fanboys. But I don't think anytime soon. But I don't really. That part of it is a conversation that can go on forever. Put the fucking comic out. James Lee, Jim Lee, I know you're watching this show. Make the comic. Put the story out there.
Yeah, just make the comic and just get the conversation started.
Yeah, once you get that, then you go from there. But right now, like I said, I think the topic gets used to beat people over the head. That's why it's banned on the show.
Well, Andre, actually, this is something I want because I was about to ask you a minute ago about this too. This kind of relating to the comic book discussion. That you almost said put this out in comic book form and see where it goes from there. And this is something I asked William the other night. If they did like a comic book run to show basically what's on the whiteboards, do you think that if that took off and WB or somebody said, hey, let's actually get this on camera, do you think that would be like a 1-to-1 adaptation, or would they change it significantly from what the comic book version would be?
It depends on how violent it is and how dark it is. I think that they would, but at that point, if you put it out in graphic novel form and a comic form, you have to kind of stay true to the storyline. If you alter it dramatically, it's. I don't think Zach would stand for that. Zach, if they said, well, we want to do it, but we want to really have it, toned down, he'd be like, no, I'm not going to do it.
Well, the analogy I was using with William the other night was like the Flash, in the Flash movie, where it's a version of Flashpoint, but it's not, it's not a beat. It's significantly, it's not the War of Amazon of Atlantis Themyscira. It's the return of Zod and all that. So it's
storyline. I hate Flashpoint. Oh, I want to put that on.
Yeah, I'm sorry I had to bring that up, but
and the thing too is that when Scott Stuber made those comments the other day about licensing, he wasn't talking about we want to license the Snyderverse. No, what he was talking about was the licensing of Zack Snyder's Justice League on Netflix.
That's what I was getting at a minute ago.
Well, because it makes sense. Like, hey, we'd love to have the entire collection of Zack Snyder's movies that he did, even with Warner Brothers, on Netflix, so we can kind of have all of Zack's fans there saying, look, all of his collection is here. This is awesome. Because they want to appeal to their fans, because they want to keep their subscriber base strong and growing. So what do? You give the fans what they want, right? Now, look, when it comes to this whole talk about, Snyderverse being licensed to Netflix, there is no, that doesn't make any sense. DC is not going to say, okay, we want to license this out. William would say they would, because they want to make money, but you don't have competing brands. So what? They release this and it's more profitable.
By the way,
James Gunn's DCU.
I should advise you, we are violating a banned topic. But
yeah, I know. Well, I'm just saying.
I respect the hell out of people who think it's never going to happen. I just don't think you're using the right criteria. I think we're using criteria. Whenever you say never, when in the world where if there's a transaction that can happen, then the word never is eliminated. It doesn't matter. Look, 15, 20 years, you think it might not happen. But those thoughts may or may not be based on actual transactional reality, is all I'm saying. That's why it's a banned topic, generally because the reasons why people say anything can never happen. Not just anything else. It's based on things that usually don't matter.
Well, and also looking at Twitter, people tend to get each other's throats about it.
That too. It's crazy. Like I said, I have never heard, and I still haven't, and I surround myself with some really great people. I've never heard the right reasons of something. Now, the probability is one thing. We've already explained that. But the reasons why have been why I've always put it on the ban topic, because not one person has ever brought up an actual tangible real life reason in the world of business why something can never happen. That's why I usually cut it off. because it gets into the whole competing and all that. That my ears start swelling up because I'm like, first of all, they would stagger. I mean, like I said, the probability of it happening, I've always opened up at that, and even while we put it on banned topic. But the reasoning that people come up with, especially on YouTube, especially on Twitter, especially on all these groups, has been stuff that I would rather get kicked in the balls by a donkey than hear their reasoning because it's usually bullshit. And there's some people
I just think that if you're trying to establish James Gunn's DCU, you don't do that while you're also building out Zach's DCEU on Netflix. That doesn't make any sense.
We're not talking about the people who made some great decisions either, by the way. So Zaslav fucked this up from the start with the way he transitioned into James Gunn. So we're not talking about, Albert Einstein of studios right now. I mean,
right.
So like I said, the reason why, like I said, if somebody's going to come at me and tell me something, anything is never going to happen. I need business dynamics. I don't need a gut feeling, and that's why I handed it.
Well, but if David Zaslav wanted to bring Zach back and saw that was a more profitable route, he would have reached out to him initially, and he never did. Instead, what did he do? He was even quoted as saying that, when I saw that James Gunn was here, I was like, this guy made Guardians of the Galaxy. He did this and that. Why isn't he over here, making our DC universe?
And David Zaslav, if you're watching this, dude, you got lucky because I do think you got the right guy, but the criteria you used to choose him was fucking stupid. That is not why you bring over and make a studio head. You got the right guy. You got the right guy, in my opinion. But that logic is from some fat cat that ran Pimple Popper and is now having to cut some shit and do some shit. Well, that's what I mean by it. That was stupid logic. He got lucky. He got the right guy.
Well, but you look at who was there. Who was advising him? Michael Uslan. Michael Uslan, like as far as I know, he's not even a huge fan of Zack Snyder's DC characters, and so for him to say, "Oh yeah, James Gunn, let's go with that," look, there wasn't a huge group that was already existing that said, "Hey,
nobody wanted the job either." Too, that's another thing. Yeah. Nobody wanted this job. That's another. We forget now. Nobody wanted this job.
Nobody wanted the job.
They were begging Todd Phillips. They were begging Todd Phillips.
They were begging Todd Phillips, right? Said no.
I mean, back in the day, they tried to get Christopher Nolan to be the architect of the DCEU, and he was like, "No, that's not who I am." Like, what are we talking about? Because they saw what he did being a part of Man of Steel, and so they were like, "Yeah, if we can get him to do that for all these films, then we'd have somebody, watching over them."
Making that decision, though, that would teach you. You just, like I said, when we go back to the roadmap, the backwards roadmap of DC decision making, it's all been bad. They've gotten fortunate with some. All their decision making has been bad. I think James Gunn is the right guy, but you don't pull him over simply because, I like what he did with Guardians of the Galaxy and all that. He did that within an infrastructure. He was a good part of it, but Kevin Feige and so many other people and so much other faith was built in. The reason why I think James Gunn can tell a broad story like this more, and believe it or not, it's a show that I thought should have never been made, along with a movie that should have never been made, and that's with Suicide Squad, and that's with Peacemaker, because he made me give a shit about characters I had no business caring about.
Yes.
So I could see him doing that, but I made the decision, my internal decision that this guy going forward would be based on things he did with DC and with characters outside of a universe that was already propped up and making billions before he even stepped into it.
The problem with his DC movies, like with the Suicide Squad, was that, like, you're talking about him making a film that, like, there was no built-in, like at that point, the DCEU continuity was so screwed up that they basically just said, just make whatever story you want. He said do what you want to do.
He didn't even know whether Cavill was the Superman or not.
Exactly, it was so screwed up. Bullet. And then finally, when they were able to get Henry Cavill to come back, they said, no, we're not doing that. Because, James Gunn had his own plan, him and Saffron. They were like, yeah, we don't want to resurrect the DCEU. We just want to end it and start a new DC universe.
Which would have been cool. See, there was nothing wrong with ending the DCU and starting a new universe. This is where we would have already been. But once again, when I've always said this, incompletion is failure. Now, is it world-ending failure? No. But it's on your resume, and it takes people time to be like, you guys aren't you guys those fuck-ups from the last time? And they don't even give you two thoughts to be like, to give you the benefit of the doubt, because most general fans are not us. They're going to be like, you're those fuck-ups from the last time. I remember starting something with you guys, but it never finished. There's this shinier shit over here. There's this cooler thing over here. Where's my PlayStation 5? There's so many things you're fighting for attention that you can't do what they did and increase the odds.
By the way,
coming in.
I did want to also add to because the what Andre pulled up was it was out of I think out of the Atlantic that I interviewed
Atlantic,
Zach.
whatever the hell that is.
And he had a quote also in there that was just talking about kind of like generally about superhero fatigue. And Zach said something to the effect of, let me see if I can find it here.
Are we delving further into band issues?
Well, no, not quite. Not quite. But he said he was quoted as saying, Zach says that he was speaking about like the idea of like superhero movie fatigue, and he said, the movies have become. It's hard to do one-offs and hard to like do contain stories now, and they've become a cul-de-sac. So I think we're all very familiar with that quote and the individual behind it. So so I took that, of course, as another instance of.
But second Warner Brothers.
Probably.
All right, but it doesn't matter who was grooming James Gunn. The fact that you can't compare what he did in Marvel to necessarily use that as your sole criteria of bringing him over, just because, like I said, the criteria that he could have really fucked that up, because there's a lot of other people that have done stuff for Marvel, and based on that, you say, oh, just you're look what you did over in Marvel, let's come over here. No, James Gunn, like I said, he got lucky.
Also, he
is the right guy.
And also, I mean, like when Zaslav says that, I mean, that is PR, because I mean the fact that they were because the fact that they were running it by Todd Phillips first. So it's like if that was your line of reasoning for hiring Gunn, then why'd you go to Todd Phillips?
Exactly, and other people, a bunch of other people that.
Well, he was already in the room. I mean, he was already making movies for Warner Brothers, and so it's kind of like, hey, he's already here. Let's ask this guy, because you look at it. I mean, you look at it. That was probably the more edgier look at creating getting a guy who's going to be your architect for your DC universe in Todd Phillips. I mean, that was crazy. Like when I heard that, I was like, really? That's the guy you want to go with? I love Joker, but that would have been a much different take on this universe.
Well, but what I'm saying is that if it had been Todd Phillips, then Zaslav would be saying, it's like, well, he made the guy who crushed it with Joker. Why isn't he running all of this?
Yeah, his criteria for choosing people just seems to be so discovery. And he lies. I will never say that Zaslav. I want his predecessors back. I will take Zaslav 7 days a week, twice on Sundays.
Well, you're about to get one of them back. If Warner Brothers merged with Paramount, Walter Hamada is now he's back on the team. Hey!
Not running. Listen, Walter Hamada wasn't a bad guy. Walter Hamada was given a doomed situation, and he should have never been the head of DC Films. He's great at what he does, but he was put in an unwinnable situation. But David Zaslav appears to be a guy that will tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah, and it'd be hilarious if it did happen, and Hamada got fired twice.
Yeah, like I said, he wasn't. I don't blame. I know a lot of people have some issues with him with the whole Ray Fisher thing, but as far as like hiring and being, he should have never been put in that position. The people who put him in that position, well, they're gone too. But I blame them. Walter Hamada is a great producer with a great resume. He just should not have been the head of DC Films.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense. I mean, I don't think he was even a comic guy. They just said, hey, he's got a lot of experience in this category. I think he can translate that over to DC Films. But look, I mean, when you look at the plan that was in place from Hamada, I mean, they immediately, once DeLuca and Abney got a look at it, probably with Alan Horn overseeing as well, they immediately changed that plan because it wasn't a very good plan. In fact, you had the Batgirl movie coming out that they completely just shut down to take a tax write-off. I mean, it was like, whoa, what the hell? And then not only that, but they immediately started changing the ending that he had tried to set up for the DC EU and starting a new universe. I mean, essentially what they wanted to do was they said, okay, we're not going to do any of that shit that you were going to do with the whole, with Keaton and all that. I mean, Keaton was still going to be around, but they were going to change everything. I mean, they changed any of the Flash that included Wonder Woman. It included, which is played by Gal Gadot. It was going to have Ben Affleck cameo at the ending. I mean, they were going to change all that. Henry Cavill was supposed to be in that ending, and so they were really looking to change all that.
I actually had like one thing I had thought about, if they were, as far as like a way to bridge all of this and create some harmony with it, is that really, if they were going to retool the end of the Flash, which I did like Flash a lot. I actually put up my rankings for CBMs earlier today. It was my number 1 for 2023. But really, like, I think the most harmonious way they could have done this was like, tweak the ending of the Flash, where it's like, okay, now it's like he's landed in the gun, for lack of a better term, the Gunverse.
Yeah, I mean,
then it's like, then you've got this bridge between both continuities, and then you can continue to leverage both of them to your heart's content and whatever, but monetarily you can get out of both of them.
You can, but having Aquaman be the last movie didn't make any sense. And at that point, they just said, you know what?
And I liked Aquaman too. Oh, I liked it a lot.
So did I. I actually had low expectations, and when I saw it, I actually enjoyed the movie. It's a very surface level movie. It doesn't get very deep at all. But I thought it was a lot of fun, and I thought that what's his name, the guy who plays Orm, Patrick Wilson. I thought he really carried the movie well.
Yeah. He's Yaya is Black Manta. He
did really good too.
He's fantastic as Black Manta.
Yeah, I agree. But I had a lot of fun with the movie. The baby parts were a little silly, and then the very end when he's like, "'Cause I'm Aquaman." I was just like, "What the fuck?" It was almost like they reshot that, just like, "Hey, just do what you want to do." You know what I mean, like, it doesn't matter because nothing is going to transpire from this, and it would have made more sense if that
baby does
film
not die. By the way.
Yeah, the baby was not dying. It would have made more sense if this film came out before The Flash.
Exactly.
But then again, if you did that, do you think they still would have included the Ben Affleck Batman scene? Probably not.
What they should have done. Here's what they should have done with this. Flash should have been the last movie.
Yes.
And what should have happened is that it should have established a clean slate, but with a lot of possibilities, because like I've always said, this whole competing universe thing and not doing something, let's take Snyder out of it. Let's take Snyder everything out of it, because the whole competing universe thing is like, how I feel about that. I won't bring up the talking dog thing again because it might be insulting. But here's the thing. Give me Andre, give me a big director. Just throw one out there. Give me a big sought after director right now.
Tommy Wiseau.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the Russo brothers. I don't know. Well, J.J. Abrams.
No, not being joke. Give me your favorite director, somebody that's big on the scale that is a mover and shaker in Hollywood.
Well, like Steven Spielberg.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna use him as an example. It doesn't necessarily have to be him, but somebody on that level. Somebody, the handful of people in Hollywood that you don't say no to. Steven comes to David Zaslav because he's not going to Guns beneath him. He goes to David Zaslav, who, by the way, whoever's running Warner Brothers, because we don't even know what's going to be one of the company next year. But okay, so he goes to David Zaslav. David Zaslav, he comes to your scripts and says, "I got this script for Green Lantern, Batman, no matter who it is. I got this script, and I want to do it." But I respect what James Gunn. I don't want to be part of that, and that's fine. But I want to do it. I'm David Zaslav. My company has had directors and producers running from it the last 10 years. Not all of his fault, but because of just the sheer stupidity. And you're trying to build back that credibility. Steven Spielberg, any Academy Award level mover and shaker comes in your office with a script and says, "You're not saying no to that guy. You're going to find a way to make that work." So even without the Snyderism, that's where I say, well, we're not going to do something to compete. So if Steven Spielberg comes into your office with a script, you don't even fucking open it up. You got Steven Spielberg sitting across from you, or Denis Villeneuve, or any of these guys that are like the gods that are still producing. We have Martin Scorsese. I'm just throwing that out there because you know how he feels about comic movies. But the multiple Academy Award winners come into you with a script with their own production companies, their own backers, and said, "I want to do this. I know you got that going over there, but guess what? You find a way to make that happen." You're not saying no to Steven Spielberg and letting him go somewhere else, change the names and the faces to make something else that should have been your story. You're not letting that happen. And if I'm your stockholders, if I'm bleeding out what Warner Brothers is being about with their $11 stock, which I have some of, and I'm a financier and I'm somebody who's one of the people who made this merger possible, and I hear you said no. I hear you had Steven Spielberg or Scorsese in your office with a treatment for Superman or Batman, and you said no. Your ass is going to get fucking fired. I'm calling your boss, which is the chairman of the board, and saying we need to get somebody in there that's making better decisions. He just let Steven Spielberg walk out the door. It ain't going to matter that something is happening over there. You as a business person are going to make that happen. You'll stagger it. You'll do what you need to do to make it work, to give whatever Spielberg is doing all the time in the world to promote and everything else, and whatever Gunn is doing all the time. So you stagger them so they're not on top of each other. But you are not letting Steven Spielberg or Scorsese or whoever it is, Greta Gerwig, whoever it is, walk out of that with a no answer.
Well, they already kind of have that. This isn't really a director, but this is the whole thing with Constantine too. Because that's Keanu Reeves' baby, and Keanu, of course, he's about the closest we have to a universally beloved celebrity. So it's like we were finally hearing with, and I was actually going to start getting to the comments because we had neglected that.
Hold on. If Martin Scorsese or James or Cameron or somebody comes in that office, he ain't going to be in charge of that project. Any one of those guys come in, he is a bigger force than James Gunn, and I respect the hell out of James Gunn. That if one of those names walks into the office, that guy's in charge of his product, and he has no boss. You're not the only boss that Steven Spielberg is going to have is a guy who's running the company, not the studio, because he's not working for that studio. He's going to have his own brand, whatever he's doing. And like I said, you're not saying no to those guys. You're going to have, you think Steven Spielberg or Scorsese or James Cameron is going to come to James Gunn for permission for shit? No disrespect to James Gunn. He's going to go to Zaslav, and those guys, people who back Zaslav are going to be like, the answer is yes, dude. The answer is yes. You figure out the details later. So this whole confusing and competing shit, it ain't going to matter. You guys they use it when it's Snyder, but I'm talking with the people you don't say no to and keep your job. Those guys come into the room with a script. Let me as a stockholder find out that you said no to that with my $11 stock, with my $29 billion in debt. Let me find out that you said no to that. I don't care. We replace you with the dude who gave you the notice. No, you don't do that. So
okay, we set William on a little bit of a rant here.
No, but I'm just saying, business will happen if somebody comes in, and that's where you're Elseworlds, and that's why you leave the Flash or this thing to where that can happen. You go forward with your thing, but you leave all possibilities open. Because you don't know who's going to walk through that door or who he's going to be talking to. It may well not be Zaslav. Zaslav could be like, you know what? I'm 60 whatever years old. I did what I turned Pimple Popper into Warner Brothers Discovery. I'm done. I got a yacht waiting for me. Or Universal, Comcast could come in, or whoever, or Amazon. Somebody can say, you know what? We decided you're an attractive company now. We're going to buy you. But guess what? Same thing you did when you came in. You picked your guy. We're going to pick our guy. So we can have a new head of a new head. We don't know who's going to be having that conversation.
The head of the head.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just say, you keep that Elseworlds thing out there so that when those guys that you want as part of your studio that bring up the value of your studio come through that door, you have somewhere to put them. And the answer can't be no. I would love to be a parakeet in that office when you say, you know what, James Cameron? I don't think so. Or Steven Spielberg? Nah. That parrot might die. That's reality. So, yeah.
Well, now that Williams cleared the room and all that,
he's cleared his sinuses.
I'm going to go ahead and because you just pulled up the comments, and I was about to mention, we have not been given the comments in the love, so I'm going to start.
That's green blad.
Yeah, but William definitely got some put some thoughts out there. I've heard you go on that.
And it's inevitable. It's inevitable that somebody's going to get a hair up their ass about a character that they've always wanted to do, a passion project, and they're going to stroll into Burbank and say, here's what I want to do. And it's inevitable. It's inevitable. And you have to be ready for that.
I mean, when you look at like Joker, like Joker. I mean, you had Todd Phillips behind it, but you also had Martin Scorsese involved with that as well, attached to that project.
Oh,
And so that's what gave it legs. Like, oh, okay, well, if these guys are attached to it, let's move forward with this. And I think that's sort of how that happened. Even though like people like Toby Emmerich didn't want anything to do with Joker,
gave up
and
half
then-
the money.
Yeah, I love that story where it's like they made
Yeah.
$1 billion, but they didn't get any of the profits because they.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, look, we could beat this whole topic is, we can go round and round and round about this whole topic. I mean, Warner Bros. Has a chance to do something really cool, and instead they went a different route, and it sucked.
Yeah, but like you said, was now Netflix is taking that chance and taking that hashtag and running with it. So
Well,
again,
and like we were saying before, it's like I don't think that, when in terms of like licensing the Snyderverse, I don't think that's something that's going to happen. I think that they have a better chance of getting Zack Snyder's Justice League on Netflix, and I think and this is just me speculating, but I think the fear of putting something like ZSJL on Netflix is that you're getting more eyes on that project, and more questions will arise from that project saying, well, why wasn't this story fleshed out? Why wasn't there a part 2 to this? Why did you have the 2017 Justice League? Because there's a lot of general audiences out there that haven't even seen Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah, and everything
so
you're
getting
saying
on Netflix would be huge.
Yeah,
in
that's
terms of,
why
like,
that's
I
why
don't
I
think
say
it's
do
ever
it.
gonna fit on
exposure.
Netflix.
That's
I don't
why I say do it, because I want those questions to continue
I
to
don't
be
think,
asked.
but if you're HBO and Max and you do that, you give up something like that. A lot of people still watching. That's just dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
Starting with Batman 2 or Elseworlds, like I just told you. Do you think any of the names I just mentioned are going to be controlled by Gunn and Safran? Is James Cameron? I'm just throwing names out because it's going to be. We don't know who it is, but it's definitely going to be. Do you think anybody of that ilk is going to be controlled by anybody?
Yeah, but guys like James Cameron, Scorsese, all these guys, they don't want anything to do with superhero movies. That's not what they want. That's what they want to do.
That's what I'm saying. There are people out there that of those levels.
Right, of that caliber. That when they say, "Hey, I'm interested in this," they're going to listen because they're like, "Hey, why not? This is a big director."
Well, Cameron also almost did a Spider-Man movie back in the '90s. So
yeah, but I mean,
but any of those guys at that level, they're not going to answer to anybody who's not.
Well, Cameron's like he answers to literally nobody, and
but James Cameron is fully immersed in his Avatar world, and not to mention he's even talked about how
Alita,
they're going to start Alita Part 2. So I mean, look, those guys aren't coming over to DC or Marvel anytime soon. They have their own projects.
At 135, this is the only names I can think about right now, but there are other people.
But no, I get what you mean, though. I understand the concept of that, but
anybody, there are going to be up and comers and people who are building, are building band or at that moment that you want to have them in your stable that are not necessarily going to want to work in a universe, and you have to be aware. You don't want to. I don't want the Joker. I'm glad even if the DCU is going on, I don't want the Joker not to happen. I don't want the Batman not to happen, and I don't want projects like that not to happen. And you have to understand that while some of that stuff may be completely earthed and controlled by James Gunn, there are going to be egos and people involved that have accomplished a lot in the business that are going to come along, and they're not going to their conversation are going to be taking place at a much higher pay grade than James Gunn's.
Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and start getting into the comments here, guys. Because, like I said, not to cut everybody off here, but just kind of just mean to give them some love tonight in the comments. Yeah, we want to talk about that guy. Let's see. Droga says Bill. Yeah, Droga's just having fun.
No, they're not.
Aaron, there's a little talk about Mortal Kombat between Ruth and Droga, and Aaron says, watch Mortal Kombat. No, don't. Aaron, I'm sorry, I gotta disagree with you. Don't, under any circumstances, watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
That's a bad movie. It's not good.
That one hurt me. That one, just thinking about it hurts me.
None of them really are that good, in my opinion. But
Annihilation, though, that's a special kind of bad.
Yeah, that's 1 in a million. It's really, really bad.
That is just thinking about that now. Ooh. Let's see. sorry, I'm just sifting through a few.
No, yeah.
Got a lot in here. Fun says the sea was in turmoil, so Fourth had to go take care of business. Because Fourth stepped out, so he came back. George Miller interesting. George Miller could be, because he almost did a Justice League movie. So what if he says, I want to
Justice League Mortal,
jump back into the DC world?
I mean, he could, but I mean, look, I mean, whoever
I'm not saying him
be jumping. Who's ever jumping into the DC world is jumping into one of James Gunn's and Peter Safran's projects they have lined up. I don't think that anyone's going to come in and say, "Hey, I'm going to do an Aquaman movie." You know what I mean? Like, I want to do that, and they're like, "Oh, make way!" You know, let's fit it in. I
don't think they're going to fit it into his thing if that person doesn't want to. Like, if you got a Nolan, if you had a Nolan that comes back, Nolan's not going to work with it.
By the way, did you see the comment that it was also from, I think, the where Nolan said, there's no superhero movie or sci-fi movie these days where I don't see some influence of Zach. I can't wait for that to make. It already is kind of making the rounds, but man, it's like the feathers that's going to ruffle.
A lot of muting will have to go. And like I said, a guy like Nolan comes in. I'm sorry, RJ, I love you, but he's not sitting down with anybody short of WVD CEO.
I bet they're begging Nolan to come.
Could you imagine Nolan? And I'm pretty sure he respects all these people. Yeah, if Oppenheimer wins the best movie, and Nolan came in and said he wanted to come back and work with him, it don't matter what the project is. He's doing his own shit, and his conversation is going to be between Christopher Nolan and whoever is sitting in David Zaslav's seat. That's how that.
Because I don't think I think you expressed similarly, Andre. I don't think Zaslav's going to be there much longer.
No, I don't think so either.
No.
I don't know how it's going to happen, but
Annihilation. Annihilation. It's like
I'm not into Mortal Kombat movies, but
don't get into that Mortal Kombat movie. See every other Mortal Kombat movie for that one. I mean, that's
pretty bad.
And think of it, because I get it. 95. There's definitely a lot of cheese, but I still love it because it's like. It's just part of my growing up and part of my Mortal Kombat fandom, but it's like the drop off from MK95 to Annihilation. I mean, that is like what the hell happened? I mean, it's like if you ever want to do a watch party on that, William, it's like we probably draw a big crowd for people who want to
watch me see us go. Yeah, sure.
They're asking me. The trad has asked me they want to do because I'm so excited for the Netflix Avatar series. They want us to do a watch party on The Last Airbender, and that would pretty much be like for Howard the Duck was for William, that would be for me. And I can't go on that rant because I'm not gonna be able to stop. Okay, let's
putting in the link to the
to the charity drive.
Charity guy.
There you go, yeah.
And we're gonna do something. I'll be announcing it soon, and we're gonna do something on New Year's Eve. Another fundraiser.
If you change your mind, I'm the first in line, honey. I'm still free. Take a chance on me, ABBA.
Wow, she's singing ABBA.
Of course, I associate them most with what was it? What was that movie called? Mamma Mia.
Kevin Feige is not James Gunn. Kevin Feige has one of the most successful producers in all of Hollywood. Like I said, no disrespect to James Gunn, but that's just not an equal conversation. If you're somebody of that ilk, you're going to talk to a Kevin Feige. But if you're somebody of that ilk, you're talking to the head of Warner Brothers. Like I said, I'm not knocking James Gunn, but there's a big pay grade difference in what Kevin Feige, as far as a studio head, has done over the last 20 years and what James Gunn might do as a studio head. Big difference. If I'm one of these big names, I know who I'm talking to.
No, Root says I just need to put a face to Spidey's voice. Well, I told you last night. It's Michael Jai White on the other end because he keeps asking me to interview him on the show. So that'd be the ultimate twist.
Oh man,
that situation's getting kind of creepy. But yeah, right now we're at 3,000.
We're big fans of Mike's work. Come on, man.
Okay.
He told me. I remember the first time I interviewed Mike, because I asked him, of course, about working on Spawn. Because I've interviewed Michael Jai White like 6 times, and like the second time was, I call it a legacy interview, where I was kind of like going through like his whole career up to that point. And I asked him about, of course, working on Spawn. And asked him, of course, about the makeup process. He said the first time 4 hours to put that face on the first time.
That's brutal, man.
That is hard,
Brutal.
man. He said they eventually managed to get down to about 2 hours. But yeah, that is. I mean, and John Leguizamo as the clown had it even worse.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But what's funny is that John Leguizamo, I thought did a great job as the Violator.
Yeah. Michael J. White is Spawn and Leguizamo.
He did too good a job as a Violator.
Yeah, they're the best things about it, and that's another one where it's like the CGI and Spawn has not aged well, to put it extremely delicately.
To be fair, when it was released, wasn't we weren't really diving in to that type of
CGI. But even so, but I mean, look at Malbolgia in Hell. I mean, they have like the same shot of Malbolgia like over and over and over again.
I'm surprised that movie even got made, to be honest with you.
For that time frame, yeah.
That movie. So for what it was, I thought it was all right, like I said, because that was a very sensitive topic. I remember when Spawn first got released, and there was a lot of stores that didn't want to carry Spawn until the sales levers put in, because it was dealing with a lot of things. It was dealing with child molestation. It was dealing with a lot of things right now, and they were outside of the disciplines of the major companies, so they could do things. And like they were Spawn is sitting on the shelf next to Superman comics, so a lot of people were worried about that. Yeah. A lot of parents were worried about that. So for them to have a movie 5 years later from that was, and dealing with literally the same shit with the same character who's doing that shit was very impressive.
Well, I need to go. Andre mentioned he needs to go ahead and jump ship in here. So great having you on as always, man.
Of course, you guys, and if you want to find me, I'll be on my channel, which is Nicotina, over on YouTube. I have a video that I'll be releasing tomorrow talking about more MCU rumors and kind of where they're heading. So far, I've gotten a lot of positive traction for all my MCU videos, which is awesome. Shorts have really helped out as well. Shorts really, I've been doing really well on my channel. So definitely check out my channel, subscribe if you haven't done so yet. I appreciate everyone who subscribes. And really, I'm just trying to build the channel as much as possible. Over the past, 2 months, I've gained about 70 subscribers, which is great. It's put me over 1,700.
70 pounds. I was like, damn, dude.
70 pounds. But definitely check that out. I appreciate everyone who does. And Droga, I agree. It's like, but it's still a talking point. We know so much about it.
We have the hashtag blame Brad. For tonight, it's blame Andre, because Andre brought it up, and once
I brought it up, I did.
Well, if he didn't, I probably would have. So
So William is listen, guys. I make the comic book, make me some money, and give me some cool shit to sell, and then whatever it goes from there, I don't care. But we have the story. I don't have to ask, hey Andre, what do you think? I know you have your Project Justice League, but what do you think that they really wanted to do with the Battle of Themyscira and Darkseid? How did she die? I don't have to ask that anymore, because you know what? I can look back on my wall, my yellow wall, when I'm at the store, and I can just pull out issue 3, and there it is.
That's it, man.
That's the hashtag, you guys. I'm telling you guys, embrace with a hashtag, print the ZJHSL whatever miniseries. Make the comic book, and then go from there. Let McFarlane make some toys and make a video game and do all this stuff to where you build your own little world, and you don't have to worry about anybody else. But this other stuff is just it's talking. It literally ends up in talking in circles, because we're guessing. Just like I said about the Netflix thing, we're guessing on people who make transactions, and the people guessing on the transaction always end up being wrong. Even myself, when you're guessing what someone will do when there's money involved and there's jobs and legacy involved, the fanboy, me, I include myself in that number, is always going to be wrong. We're always going to be wrong. I think a lot of people who are about the Netflix thing, I think that people are judging Rebel Moon on parameters that are literal bullshit. That are probably
pretty much.
Netflix is laughing at these. They're probably scrolling through it. And they're on Twitter, because you saw what they did. They're scrolling through and they're looking at this shit, and they're like, these fools. So I take the guessing game out, make the miniseries, make me some money. All right, Andre, thanks for coming on, man, and we'll see.
All right, you guys.
Have
a good night.
There, Andre.
All right. Yeah, man, you guys getting me in trouble bringing up the banned topics, and it was 2 of the 3. But like I said, you guys, my stands on whether anything can happen or not hasn't changed. But I wanted, for me personally, for somebody who just wants to see the conclusion of the story, I don't care if it's a sock puppet or a cartoon. I told you my plan about the box sets and all that, but the greed in me and the person who would like to make some coin off of it, well, why not?
And also, I didn't get the chance to mention it for Andrea. It took off, but if you haven't given Project Justice League,
we should have a link to that.
Yeah, that's of course the motion.
The 1 year anniversary. The 1 year anniversary.
Yeah, 1 year. We have the Andre and the Four Nerds put together last year. That it's a motion comic of the storyboard or the whiteboard for JL 2 and 3. So give that a look if you have it, because it's really, really awesome. Really nice, really great glimpse into this story. What Zach had intended for it, and as I say,
you know what? I just saw that. I'm sorry.
Well, and what was it? And Droga had a follow up to that. I'm gonna watch Ross and Gromit tonight.
Oh, that's where that came from. Okay, got you. But yeah, I actually agree with Droga. I actually agree. We end up. There's some substance to it, but then we end up talking in circles because we don't have anything else to talk about. Once you print that comic, we gotta have a lot to talk about. Guess what? The next 12 comic book turning point stories are going to be. If that comes out. Hey, guess what? It's week 3 of 60. It's the Battle of the Mascara. Ooh, whoa! It's the real Flashpoint story inside of this.
Well, and see. And that's the thing I look back on too when the movie came out, is that I do sort of lament is the initial plan was for it to be a mini series. Not that I regret, and we still kind of got it that way because it's got all the chapters in it. Yeah. But I do still kind of lament that wasn't like a weekly 6 week or so mini, because I was looking forward to like just the week to week discussions. I was looking forward like watching the Vodka stream or watching all the different channels of the community, the way like every cliffhanger would end and say, okay, where's this going to go next week, and what's this building up to now? I was really looking forward to like having like all the excitement we had for that. The only thing I think could have made that better, other than them not coming out 4 days later and saying get lost with that start off piece. What could have made that even better was was stretching that out over 6 weeks, where it's like we're taking the whole thing that we were pursuing for so long, and now we're making it this month and a half long phenomenon. I think that could have been pretty awesome.
But Brad, I'm giving you 12 months, man. And guess what? I'm doing panel breakdowns because I'm getting all the artists, and I'm getting McFarlane, and Jim Lee's already there. I'm getting Will Strategic. I'm getting Mark Silvestri. I'm getting the best of the best on this one. And even with those talents on there, it's still going to be cheaper than any other format you would put. Literally pennies. And I'm putting it out there, and I'm doing the limited covers, and I'm announcing it at Comic-Con. Let's announce a comic book thing at Comic-Con. Holy shit. Let's do that. And I'm getting a hype around it. Who's going to have a stake and get involved? You could have Netflix involved, because while they license these movies, have a QR code, and then you're making money off it because you got to license the action figures through Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers can make money off of it.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, guys. It's like we're not going. It's like we maybe take like a break for a week or two, but sooner or later we're going to fall back to this topic because we got all these ideas about it. But and yeah, Spider-Man has a couple I want to highlight. Five of the Arcus, of course.
No, we're not doing Chicken Run. Sorry.
Yeah, I've seen some William the People's.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just saw this. Soon. Let me look at my week. I think we might be doing it this weekend.
Oh, okay, that sounds good.
All right.
So just in time for New Year's, basically.
There you go.
William the People Spoken, Stand Deliver. I think that was a reference to. And then he has one for me, which of course is Brad speaking of the man, the myth, legend, where we can see Michael J. White and Scott Adkins interview.
Hurry up and do this so we could.
Yeah. Well, again, it's like because whenever I interview them, of course, I'm doing it for one of my print outlets. So it's like if we could coordinate in some way, or it's like, oh, by the way, I'm part of this YouTube channel. Can we maybe get you guys on to speak there as well? I just need to find a way to,
Just get him in there for Spidey.
Yeah. I bet you would come on for that, dude.
Yeah. We got to see his face if he comes on. We're not putting him on screen with my.
One. He also there was this one here. He was alluding to his. Yeah. All right. Here's the clue. I have radioactive blood.
He's got radioactive blood. I'm so excited. Like I said, man, I get excited about books. I mean, and like I said, I would love, because I just think you could do so much more, because you got 32 to 48 pages. You can do things in a comic book. You can flesh out characters, and then you could, even with Watchmen, you could have the miniseries. So you could have a miniseries, you could have side miniseries, like a 3-issue miniseries based on, because when you had Infinite Crisis, you had a lot of, remember Infinite Crisis, you had a lot of side stories that were happening. So you could do that, but the main story was 12 issues. 12, give me a year.
Right there, Droga.
All right, see you later. Give me
and by the way, Droga, for like this weekend, because if you want to jump on this weekend, because he's asked about that a couple of times. So if you want to jump on and shoot the shit, we'll shoot you a link, man.
All right. I'm just now checking my Twitter message. Sorry, Joker.
Fun says Harmata cosplay is going to overflow Comic-Con. Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Folks, man, you're not getting. They're not going to.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen.
No. All phobias that are in there are going to.
I've seen some cosplays that really it's impressive. Like what some people can put into. There was a
spider. You're not making a giant spider.
There was one about 8 years ago when I was at Tampa Comic-Con with my buddy Mike. We saw this guy who did like a whole Groot. From Guardians of the Galaxy, he did a whole Groot suit. And it was like it was a giant ass like walking talking tree. And
we had a 9-footer there.
And I'm wondering, like, he must have been sweating his guts out.
And the guy who was dressed up as the Psycho Whiz, the Across the Spider-Verse Kingpin, that guy or gal had
to
even get them in the door. So but no spiders, no fucking spiders.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get more Armada too. By the way, in the come on, 4th. Red Moon is so bad. I hear Netflix is hiring Walter Hamada, guy that probably. Okay, come on, man.
Yeah, all right.
And he's Tigas more Jung Fu, and he corrects himself Kung Fu. Yeah, and everybody wants to. Once I get on camera, I was like, I'll maybe show you guys some spinning kicks or something like that.
Bringing violence to the channel. All right, there we go.
And so I'm doing some assistant teaching now too, in my dojo. So maybe show you guys some glimpses behind that one of these days.
This new mod tools activity. Can we see people that was said the past streams and if they've been timed out repeatedly? I don't know.
I got pretty good.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I got pretty good control. I think I can handle it. Yeah, everybody is like, once I bring that up, everyone wants to see. Once people know my background and all that, then they of course they just want to see me just go off. So we got Aaron, like if you're up for it, do you want to like do like a, I'll jump on and like show off like a little Aaron also, the one chick Australia is what she can, what her skills in.
I still want her to take you out. Fucking chokehold.
I really way better than Spider-Man reveal. I know. She give herself more credit than that, dude. So, especially with like the way you and William went at it last night. I mean, it's like your debates or some. It's like the debates were so the most lively I've seen on here. Can we get a Scorpion King a kick on camera, Brad?
I don't know what the hell that is.
Well, it was it's actually,
come on, tell me, Brad. No, I'm just kidding.
Cynthia, you're Cynthia Rothrock, right? So like that's one of her kind of signature moves.
Okay, I know what it is now. I know what it is. I guess.
Oh, in fact, this might. I wonder if this will get us pulled down, but I'm going to show real quick this fight scene with this girl, Chloe Bruce. She's a stunt woman and a Tung Sudo exponent, and she does it. The Scorpion King is like her signature technique, and but she does it in a way that I've never seen anybody else in the world do it. So
it's like a backward quick where your leg comes behind you up here.
But the way she does it, it's like you have to see it to believe it. It is just. Okay, here it is. I'm gonna pull it up. I'm just gonna play this one part of it to minimize the risk to us. It's from this movie. I think it's called The Purifiers from like 2007 or something like that. But yeah, this is her. This is her Scorpion kick. Watch this, guys.
She did hers off the side.
Yeah. I know I cannot do that. I'm actually my kicks are actually one of my specialties. People actually when I did karate back in college, my nickname was Kicks. Like literally, they called me Kicks, but I can't do that one. So
just a warning for tomorrow, guys. I know I'm going to start adding certain words that can't be brought up in the chat. Guess what's one of them? You got to put Snyderverse in their bed. You got to put Snyderverse where because we're never going to escape the shadow of it, and we're just going to keep. And like I said, we have so much history with it that we can't resist talking about it. But there's nothing left to talk about. I like I said, if you like comic wise, yeah, keep talking about it. We won't ban that. By the way, print the Zack Snyder Justice League comic book. That's not banned. In fact, we're going to start scrolling that shit at the bottom of the thing.
Well, okay, then hopefully like something news wise will happen in January that'll make it a necessity to discuss it.
Yeah, dude. If I see Jim Lee again, if I go to Comic-Con, Jim Lee's there, and I'm like, dude, what are you?
Oh, was he there this past year and you went?
He was there. Yeah, he was there, and I just couldn't get to certain places because I was working with Trauma, and like I said, just getting that Todd McFarlane autograph, that was I should have been filming that. I should have been my own documentary, my vision quest to get that comic signed again. But yeah, there was a whole bunch of people there. But I plan on going this year. I might not go for all 4 days, but I think that DC Studios hopefully has something to announce there. They should be further enough. They start filming Superman in March. Maybe there's going to be something at this Comic-Con that gets me excited. Right now, I'm just not. I'm more excited about the stuff that's further away than I am for Superman Legacy. I understand Superman Legacy is important. I'm not as excited. I love Batman. I'm not excited for this. If he's going to do Tom King stuff, I'd rather him do some Tom King Batman and Catwoman. That's just me. But I hate the Bat family, so that's not on my radar. But the Paradise Lost thing, if they're gonna do it the way the way he described it, I'm in. The Green Lantern thing with the True Detective style, I'm in. Swamp Thing, I'm in. A couple other things, Creature Commandos, don't care. Suicide Squad stuff or the Peacemaker stuff when it gets released, that's so far away, I don't care. I'll care when it gets here, but right now, I hope there's something that I see at the Comic-Con that says, okay. I'm in the orbit now. I'm in your gravity now. You have my attention now. This is also I hope by Comic-Con we know who's going to be running Warner Brothers, because that's a big thing too. That's a big thing for me is I need to know that the company that is going to give me this is going to be able to give me more. And if I'm not sure about that, then I'm not diving in. Yeah,
Ruth says she collects skulls. Tells that.
You know what, Ruth?
No, seriously, she likes movies.
Yeah, she seemed so nice last night. I mean, she's Arlette this morning.
Yeah, it's like we knew there was something you were hiding.
Yeah, I like I said, we're gonna be watching like Discovery Channel. Ruth is gonna be on there. He's like, she just seemed like a nice lady.
Have you seen? Because you asked last night about you prodded William about doing the Raid watch party. Have you seen the Raid movies, Ruth? Because if you haven't, I think you probably would dig them a lot.
Oh, here he goes with the Raid. His Raid recruitment. It's good. It's really good. I mean, peak. I don't. When people say peak cinema, I'm like, I mean, where does that put it at? I still think Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is the best movie of the year, followed by Oppenheimer, followed by I would put -1 right behind it. So yeah, I mean it's up there. It's great. I mean, I wish people would stop going to war with each other over Legendary versus this stuff. I'm like, it's all making money. All right, it fills a Godzilla need for somebody. The Legendary stuff fills a need for that type of Godzilla fan, and for people who are more fans of the Toho stuff, this fills your need. So everybody's doing well. And then you got the Megalon stuff that got released in Japan. So. And then people who like that gross-looking Shin Godzilla.
And, of course, the Raid fills the need for the 3Ds.
Is that guy dead in the movie?
Most likely. Maybe he's not dead. He probably has brain damage.
Yeah, because that's not that you're not doing all right. Yeah, Funkos are great. Oh yeah, dude, didn't you make the Funkos for that ZSGL comic book? Because you know they're coming. Oh man, and make them look, and then get like different variations of shit like there. I mean, I want the Flash costume with the visor. I want that. I want to sell that. I want the Wonder Woman on the funeral pile. I want that. I mean, dude, come on, the money's there. Money's there. Come on, Jim Lee. I know you're watching right now, Jim Lee. Or you'll probably be watching tomorrow. He's probably, who the fuck is this guy?
Actually, yeah, and that goes back to something Andre said before he left about, if it did, like if they did license ZSJL to Netflix, and the way the audience would grow with that, and the way the questions pertaining to it would grow with that, it's like I know you said like that's a reason why might among others why that would be a blockade from them doing it at least in the immediate future, and that's why I say yes, please do it because I want all that to happen.
Well, and a lot of people are just I can agree with them there. Just a lot of people just don't want to deal with the questions, but at the same time, who knows where their universe is going to be in 3 or 5 years? Like I said, I think he has a 40% chance of success, and a lot of those things against him are not up to him. So
no, but I would love to watch him, Brad, and recruit to your team raid. Awesome. As William said, raid recruitment. And Spider-Man, of course, he was giving some pretty enthusiastic endorsement for it the other night. Let me see this one. Fun says that's how Brad wakes up in the morning. He does that. Yeah, I just jack up a random guy, against I just smash his head against the light and 5 times against the wall. And
Aaron, the Rebel Moon Funkos are out there. I'm going to be obtaining some. They got a whole set of them, and they're here in Vegas too. So I'm going to be grabbing them. I didn't see them.
William and Brad, are you two fans of Ong Bak? I am. As fans that love the Ong Bak movie with Tony Jaa, from Thailand, the Ong Bak movies with Tony Jaa. In fact, I've actually interviewed Tony Jaa a while back.
I don't know who Ong Bak is, so that
Ong Bak, I'm a fan of, and actually, fun fact too. Also, I have the same birthday as Tony Jaa. We're both February 5th.
Oh, so you got your 17th birthday coming up.
So, Brad is the raid. Yeah, I think they both should be. Yeah, because apparently you haven't seen it either. Why do I feel like I'm catching everybody up?
I didn't even know the movie existed until I heard it from you.
These masterpieces of Indonesian.
Exactly, and you answered your own question. It doesn't make it under our screen.
Oh, fourth. Yes.
Oh, he's just an asshole.
What's the best stunt from the raid series? You mean your best stunt or best fight scene? Do you mean if you're talking about best stunt, probably probably the part where Iko he has to tackle the guy and they out the window and they fall down like about 4 or 5 stories onto the balcony because
Tom Cruise would do for real.
Yeah. Mr. Raid reject. I really have started something here with the Raid movies. Raid watching right now. Go. Yes. Spider-Man.
All right, guys. We've been on air for much longer than the Midnight Express is supposed to be. We've had a guest, and you know what happens.
Yes, it is, Aaron.
So we're going to wrap it up right now. And like I said, I put the link. I have an announcement probably tomorrow night as far as what we're going to be doing on New Year's Eve in regards to there's going to be a watch party happening on New Year's Eve. Probably a couple of them that spread throughout a 10-hour period, probably because while I'm at the store, because I'm going to be at the store for New Year's Eve. Because once they shut Las Vegas Boulevard down, I am not getting home. So my decision making, if I'm going to be at the store at or around 4 o'clock, I'm going to be there until 2-3 o'clock the next morning. That's just the way Vegas works here. So we will be stopping everything to do a fireworks show, but we are going to have a pretty lengthy stream on Sunday evening that will roll into 2024. So if you guys, I know a lot of people are partying, a lot of people are doing all that stuff. Once again, just the same thing with Christmas Eve. It's going to be, a place to be if you have nowhere else to be. It'll be fun. I will be doing business. I will be talking with people. We'll pick some movies and we're going to just stream them, and we're going to it'll be a fundraiser as well. I hope to get us right now. We are at $3,030. I hope to get us to at least $4,000 by the end of the year. I hope we enter. We enter 2024 and with that 4,000 in front of us. So But I'll put all the details here pretty soon. Brad, where can you find you?
Of course, you guys can find me on Twitter and Vero. You can find me here or there on Facebook. You can find my writing on things like The Raid on Kung Fu Kingdom. You can find my writing on a lot of other topics like superheroes and whatnot on Screen Rant. And of course, you can find me here on the Sci-Fi Center, as we prepare to count down for the new year.
Yeah, tomorrow we're gonna hold a funeral. I have a casket in our building. There's a photography place that has a casket. We're gonna bury our Snyderverse talk in a physical casket, and we're going to close the door on it until there's news on it.
That's probably going to be like 2 weeks into January. It's going to punch its way out of that casket.
And if there's news, there's news. But like I said, it's just I've reached a point where, like I said, there's people I like and respect that are shooting opinions at me that are based on their gut feelings and this and that, and I'm like, I just can't do it. I can't have the conversation anymore unless you're going to give me transactional fanboy, and you're talking to a huge fanboy logic. And I repeat, I'm going to do this slow. Fanboy logic doesn't mean shit in the shadow of transactional reality. Right? I repeat it. Fanboy logic, that means your opinions of why something can or can't happen, doesn't mean jack squat shit in the shadow of transactional and financial reality. People do shit for money that fans will never be able to comprehend. So that's why I can't have the conversation anymore. I just can't. I can't do wishful thinking. I can't do I think. I can't do, well, I think, I heard. I can't do it. Like I said, like I said, I respect a lot of the people who come up with this stuff. And once again, it doesn't matter how much I respect you if you're coming at things from a non-transactional point of view. Your theories of why they wouldn't do, who wouldn't do what, doesn't mean shit. It means nothing. Fat cat sitting in an office looking at their hedge funds are not, there's not a fanboy near them, without getting arrested. So, but hey, on the other things, 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, 24/7 call takes Jack. We will be, doing a lot with this coming Sunday. Once again, it is a constant reminder that whatever you're dealing with is not the end. It's not the end of the world. There's a bigger world out there than the one you think is coming to an end. That's why we're doing these fundraisers. That's why we're associated with these things, to let people understand that, whatever world you're in right now, Jesus thinks is a world of shit. It's much larger. There's a much larger thing out there that you can be in and you can be involved in, and the more people out there than the ones that you're currently surrounded with that can change the entire narrative of where you're at with things. So but like I said, we'll go into more detail what our next leg of our fundraiser this Sunday. All right, for Brad, for Nicotina, and myself, thank you guys for being here. And what's tomorrow? Yeah, I'll probably see you tomorrow. I'm kind of addicted to this shit. So
all right, later, guys.
See you later.